This thing weighed so much. And I was out of town, so sweet little Lisa and Adam, they moved it into Lisa's apartment. We're gonna show you how to make this tile table. Today's video is sponsored by Squarespace. First thing we need is a little donor table, and I'm gonna measure out the tiles. Lisa got these tiles off of Facebook Marketplace, and they fit perfectly, almost. We just had to trim off the sides. Also, by trimming the sides, it was gonna make it perfectly square, not like rounded. Next, take out the jar, and I'm just gonna put some of this wood just on the sides and use 2x4s to drill it into just drill it onto this, give it like a flat surface to drill into. So first thing I did was I drilled it onto the bottom of the table, and then lined them up flush and drilled it in there. Boom, 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 and drilled it into those 2x4s. And had to do that on all 4 sides. And drill it all into place. And I just was gonna use all this spare, what is it, plywood? It's not plywood. I can't think of what it's called. And then add a little space, so I tried to fill it, and I realized if I just used maybe the scraps, nope, it was just gonna work perfectly with the wood, the spare wood that we had, so I layered one in there and put it on top, and now it was all flush. And with the drawer in, it fit perfectly. And now I just need another piece to go on top of the drawer there. So I measured that out and cut it, and there we go. Now we got a working drawer. Just gotta drill it in. So I did a pilot hole, screwed it on in, and just screwed it in. It's kind of hazardous, it's fine. There's screws in that drawer. Watch out. Watch out. But it works, so we're stoked. So I just have to do the same thing on the other side. Use some of the spare wood. I bought just one sheet of it, and it all worked out quite perfectly. Drilled it in, do on the inside. Then I realized it wasn't gonna fit perfectly, so I cut off some of those 2x4s so that would slide in like a little sheet. And bada bing, bada boom. Now just to sand the edges so that it's gonna be as square as possible. I think, oh, and there's like some spots that like were cut into. So we're just use some clay to fill that in. And once it dries, you can sand it off. And now we're gonna have a perfectly square table. That way the tile will be as flush as possible. Flush? Sure. So put it on there. I think I measured perfectly. I think I measured perfectly on the top. We were good. So with that, just taking some of this adhesive, tiled adhesive, and laying it on there with one of the spatulas. We did this all as cheap as possible. I think those spatulas were like $1. Tile adhesive, not too bad. Lay it on there, press it, and now do that for all the places. Bing, bam, boom, boom, boom. Perfect. Once it dries, we can grout it. So we're just gonna work on all the other sides. I didn't measure how this was gonna come together. I do this all the time. And so I measured this to fit this, but I forgot that this is how it's coming together. So now, I have to cut like that much off of one. I wish I would have measured twice. So I figured I would just do the spots that I could do first without having to cut the tile. And once, we'll just go from there. We'll cut it when I can get a tile cutter. Perfect. And I'm gonna leave that little gap at the bottom. Should be fine. Okay, so before I get any further on that project, I love Squarespace. I talk about it all the time. I've been partnered with them for, this is the longest partnership I've ever had. And you know, I've created a couple pretty fun ad reads. And you know, I put that time in because, you know, I think Squarespace deserves that attention. And then there's also months like this month where I don't have quite as much time. But the cool thing is Squarespace understands that. They understand it so much. Oh, if you don't know what Squarespace is, it's like one-stop shop for all things website. They understand you're busy and they want to make it as easy as possible
to not only get a website up and running, but optimize it. A couple things I love about them in that regard is they have 1,000 templates, and yet it's customizable and it's easy to customize, just like drag and drop. Everything's gonna look good, super quick, and also be on brand to whatever you're going for. They have a couple systems in place where you can automize things like, posting for blogs, for email campaigns, for store updates. Make it more efficient for you to focus on whatever you need to do. You can actually go and hit the link in the description, www.squarespace.com/Shmoxd, to start making your free website today. Then when you do decide to purchase something, you can use coupon code Shmoxd, SHMOXD, to get 10% off your first purchase. It's cool.
All right, with it all dry. Oh, nope, just kidding. We still have more sides to do. So many sides. It's fine. Got this. Lay it on there. And just do it piece by piece. Make sure it's as square as possible before it dries, because once it dries, it's hard to move that tile. So that's what Elisa was doing up there. Doing all the inside, because you kind of see it. And whoop. Now for the jar. The jar side, same thing. I mismeasured, so I had to do just what I could, and we'll cut later. And on the jar, I was gonna do, I think I did some right now. Hopefully I did some. Oh yeah, I did. I did that bottom two, and then there's gonna be one layer on top, or one row of squares that I'm gonna have to cut. Line it up with the other side, and yeah, that'll work. Holy cow, I forgot how many sides there were to this. So much tiling. So much laying down this tile. Dirt tile. So with that, while it dries, I'm gonna try to figure out how to change the grout. So I have the sounded grout we got on clearance, super great. It was 45 bucks, we got for 12 bucks, can't complain. And just, this is the paint color that matches Elisa's carpet. So that's what I'm gonna use as a reference and also add to this grout. I have sanded grout. Sanded grout is good for bigger areas to cover, and like if you have bigger spaces, so I should have done unsanded. But it's okay, it should work. So mix it up, make sure it's like the consistency of pancake batter. Pry open that paint. We're just gonna add a little bit in there. You don't want to add too much because it will change the consistency of the grout. But I'm kind of okay with that. So I just got more and more acrylic paint, and just kept on adding it until I got to the same color as that paint. A little bit orange, a little bit of maroon and orange and yellow. All the colors of the rainbow. So it looks pretty good. So now we gotta test it out. Got a spare piece. Just filled in the little cracks. Rope. Dear Coco barking in the background. Sweet little big dog. Then with it all dry, it's how easy to clean off, and clean off pretty good. The acrylic paint made it a little difficult, but I think we'll be okay to go. Well, and then to dry all the way, it dried a little bit darker than Elisa wanted, so we'll fix that up when we do the main. So now to figure out how to cut the tile. We're gonna use a tile cutter, but I got impatient, so I'm like, hey, let's just like try a what is that? Ooh, can't remember what it's called, but I broke it. Then I'm like, it's how it snapped. It reminded me of glass. So I got my glass cutter, and that worked so well. So that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna use glass cutters. We're just gonna score it and break it with the little glass cutter plier thing. So I took it all off and cleaned up where the tile adhesive was. Laid it down again and marked it, so I know where to cut it. And whoop. Now to take it to the table. Now I just gotta score them all and snap them. So I did that for all of them. And they weren't perfect, and so I took them to my little glass grinder that I use for, what's it called? Stained glass. But for the most part, I got as close as possible. And I mean, if I was patient, I could have just got them all really perfect. I wouldn't have had to use my glass grinder thing. And you'll hear that in the background right here. And so, was that me or Lisa? I can't remember who was putting them on, but we put them on. The other person was grinding down other pieces. Make sure that it's gonna fit. So blared in, put in the jar, and put in the other pieces. Boom, boom, bing, bam, boom, bee, boom, bing. And yeah, it worked. So now to just do on the other sides that need them. So did that real quick. Add the adhesive, add the pieces. And once this is all the way dry, we'll be ready to grout it. Whoop. Now, I was lazy and I'm like, I'm not gonna get like a float or any of like the tiling tools. We're just gonna use our fingers, just some finger paint. It's fine, we're fine, it's fine. So that, cleaned it with a rag once it dried a little bit. Cleaned it more and more and more. And yeah, it worked pretty good. So as you can see, it's okay. We've about got the whole thing done. But I don't love how this is. So we're gonna try a different grout. We tried some Quikrete to mix, and it just, I don't know, it's like poopy brown. And it's not the color that we want. I like this peachy color. So we're gonna go back to the store and try again. So, try again. This is unsanded versus sanded grout. Well, that's gonna change. Unsanded grout is better for small spaces, so it's gonna work great. And the water, mix it all up. I tried tie-dye, which worked, but I don't recommend it at all because like when it dries and when you add water, like it gets all funky. So tried red and it worked too well, like the red cement. There's stuff that you can get online for grout color changing that's relatively cheap. I think it was cheaper than the cement stuff. So that's the real way you do this. If I were you, I'd use that. But we don't have any of that, so we just went back to our basics, the acrylic paints, and got to a nice color. Using some of the cement stuff. Sometimes it was a concoction, but it looked good. And I got the float, because it's gonna make things so much easier. And it did. So I just spreaded it on there with the float, and scraped off the excess, then got a tile scrubby and some sponge, just the normal things people do for tools or for tiling. There we go. Had some extra tile and extra plywood. I'm calling it plywood. I don't think it's plywood. Particle board? Not particle board. Ugh. So to help with the cleaning it, every time I tried to clean it, it would like the grout would get wet and then it would just smear. So I thought if I use this grout sealer first and let that dry, then it'd be easier to clean. And it was. So that was nice. And got it nice and white. Then added another grout sealer, a spray grout sealer, and yep. Then I left town. I'm not here. So sweet little Lisa and Adam had to carry that thing. Oh, it was so heavy. Can't even imagine. Up until Lisa's apartment. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I've been doing a lot of projects for this cutie, Elisa. Like it's been geared to like making stuff like the floating shelves for her house because she's my new assistant and I love her to death and I want her to quit her job. She works at Trader Joe's and she wakes up at like 4 a.m. every morning. So the game plan is to just schmooze her and make her house all pretty and happy so that she wants to keep on working for me. That's the game plan. We love it. We love her cat. Just her cat hates me. But there we go. Okay, love you. Bye.
Alright, so be sure to like and subscribe. Go ahead and hit that bell notification. And yeah.